Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Husker Heat. The thing you're probably noticing first is there's no Mylie, and I'm guessing more than important, more than a little important to some is no Mylie's puppy flopping around on the couch with her. Mylie and Connor have decided to be fans tonight and headed up here to Omaha for the Creighton, Nebraska game. If anybody's got an update, throw that in the comments for me. I'd love to know how they're doing. Fred got in there early, and we've been talking a little jerky boys on our Corn Nation Slack this week, and so he came at me with a little first in jerky boy message before the show began. Naturally, that's fallen off, so I just look like I'm out there laughing maniacally on our comments and screaming about the jerky boys. But anyway, we took care of business up in Wisconsin. Let's just get right into it tonight. We took care of business. The bats took a little while to get going, but Shelby Jacobson, not a bad pitcher. We got to her finally on Sunday. But even then, I think it was whoever came in. I don't know. I can't remember if that was Hare or whoever came in after her, took the beating in that seventh inning seven-run fifth inning. I'll speak English eventually, I swear to God. They really got to whoever came in for her, but the pitching, it really didn't matter. The pitching was on, and this is a decent hitting Wisconsin team. Unlike what we're going to face this weekend up in Minnesota, we'll get to that in a minute. But no, this is a Wisconsin team that hits a little higher. Granted, not against the competition we played. We had, I believe, like everyone is saying, we had the hardest non-conference schedule in the country this year. And if we want to host things like regionals and super regionals, we really didn't have any choice. It was Coach Rhonda Revelle said, great risk. It was a great risk, but it was the kind of great risk that could bring great rewards. And right now, we appear to be on that track. We won the first game 5-0, a shutout behind a complete game shutout behind Alexis Jensen. Then Jordy Fromm came with a 6-0 shutout on Saturday. And then they each gave up a run on Sunday. After the big inning, they were up 12. I believe 12-1. And then she brought Jordy in to pitch the last inning. She's trying to keep. You can go into the stats, and I'll show them later. She's doing her best, I think, to keep those two's like innings pitched about even. You use them both about equally. It's way less use than Jordy had last season. Probably the biggest use I saw, and this was about 4 years ago, the 23 season maybe, and that's when they were coming into the season with three pitchers, with Kaylin Kinney, who had a fine season the next season, Courtney Wallace, and Sarah Harness, and so they were just going to go with a three-person staff, and then Kaylin Kinney gets injured early, like in the first 5-10 games maybe. Boom, she's out for the season, and those two had to pitch the rest of the season themselves, basically. They might have used an arm for an inning or two. They may have, but you didn't see anybody pitch more than a couple innings. Those two went the distance. I believe Courtney ended up throwing somewhere in the neighborhood of like 230 innings or something like that, and we're well over the halfway point now. And you'll see neither one of them is on pace to throw anywhere near that many. It's a good thing. I believe it was a year later than they started that season with like 5 or 6 arms. It didn't want that happening again. So anyway, they're splitting their innings up pretty evenly. But they sweep Wisconsin. Not a bad sweep. Wisconsin went into that series, I think, 35th in the country, and this is out of 303 teams, something like that. So 35th in the RPI, so decent opponent, not really the kind that's going to hurt you, and it didn't. Let's just get on to the records and everything right now. They run the season record to 33-6, And for those who submit their ballots in the the 4 weekly polls, you kind of saw that have an effect. We started moving up in some of these polls as our record would. Early on, we had 5 losses coming out of that crazy non-conference schedule, and that's always played at the beginning of the season. Set aside maybe 2 or 3 midweek games, but that's where that's where just about all of that is concentrated. And so anyway, we go into these polls, and we want to be not losing games now. The rest of our season is weak as far as schedule. That say the SEC will be playing. We'll talk about them a little tonight. So we can't afford a loss in these games, and RPI doesn't care about margin of victory, run ruling people, anything like that. It is just you get credit for wins and losses, and then your opponent's schedule, the record of your schedule, the teams you're playing, their aggregate record, the aggregate record of your opponents, and then the aggregate record of your opponents' is all of what factors into the RPI. So this week in RPI, let's just start with that. We dropped 1 spot, not bad, but we went from 4th to 5th. We just want to stay in the top 8. And so, and we're trailing. Number 1 in RPI is Arkansas. Number 2 is Alabama. Number 3 is Texas. Number 4 is Florida. So no real punishment there. The one time you saw a real one-day drop was when we moved up to number 3 after we beat UCLA. Then we played Creighton, beat them, but Creighton's got they're not only like 150th in RPI, but they're not playing a schedule that's really worth a damn either. So I think we dropped 2 spots just for playing that game. But we've been staying around the 3, 4, 5 mark. We're number 5. ESPN USA softball poll, we were number 3. We dropped to number 4. But D1 softball poll, we were number 5. We remained there. On 3, Softball America, we've been number 5 with them for a few weeks with On 3, and we moved up to number 3. We jumped 2 spots this week in their poll, and then the USA Today NFCA poll, and it's now called like the NFCA Go Route poll or Gorit poll or something. They had us lowest. They had us at 10. They had us at 9, and then we've just kind of crept up. We've moved up now to number 6 in their poll, and they're the ones that I truly believe are just looking at your conference and looking at your record. And so those 5 losses, when everybody else had 1 or 2, they're like, oh, their record's worse. They must be worse, even though I believe like the top 2 teams in the country that time, Texas Tech and Texas, only had 3 combined losses, and we were 2 of them. So, but we were getting no love for that. So anyway, in RPI, the longer you play, the less you can move. The more games it gets in there, then the less wiggle room, the less chance of big jumps. If we can hang around in that 4 or 5 spot, the more games we play, there's a lesser chance of all of a sudden, playing well. This is the worst team we have left. Let's go ahead and bring Minnesota into the conversation. I believe they are number 146 in the country in RPI. They have a losing record and haven't played much of a schedule. So losing one of these games would be unthinkable. They gave Washington a scare. Washington's currently, I think, ranked about 19th, but they are still 15-0 in the Big Ten. That's gonna change in the next 2 weekends. They're gonna go from 15-0 to not 15-0 because now they finally play Oregon and UCLA back to back. They're not gonna sweep those 6 games. I would be stunned if they swept those 6 games. So so we should be moving ahead of them. I would think they'd lose at least, even if they can win both those series against higher ranked teams in the conference. They're still going to come out of those weekends with two losses. I believe we should still be at 1 loss. So, don't fret that Washington's still in first, I guess, is my long-winded. That's my long-winded message that I could have said much quicker. So anyway, that's where they are in the polls. That's where they are in the RPI. Let's see what we got here. We got Vince Watson in. Like I said, call in, just give us a Go Big Red, whatever, even if you don't have anything to say. We love to hear from people in the comments. Good evening, all, and Effie, Go Big Red. I know I use that language occasionally, but let's just at this point go, yep, if you know what Effie is, you know. And all right. Hey, good to see you again, Vince, as always, or see you up on the screen here. So anyway, let's see. Who was hot this weekend? Like I said, the bats didn't really get going, and we had, I kind of have my who's hot list, my who's not list. The who's not list has been very short in recent weeks. Few people on it this week. Hannah Kaur, we'll start with you. Only 1 for 11. Managed to walk. Her one hit, knocked in 2 runs. She scored a run, but she was only 1 for 11 at the plate. Drew a walk, 2 for 12. Not a good weekend. Especially she'd been hot for a few weekends. She tagged a few of those outs hard, so it's not like, I don't know. She popped up her first at bat of the week, and she popped up, and that swing kind of hit me. It doesn't look that good, and it wasn't, but it looked like as the weekend went on, she was tagging some balls pretty hard. So I think she'll be back. Jessie Farrell, she came back from the rolled ankle. This was her first full weekend going. It's still not great, so I just wonder maybe if the ankle's bothering her a little bit. She was 2 for 11, 3 for 12 on base with her walk. She did hit a home run, so she tagged one and scored a run herself. Sam Bland, now she was an interesting one. She went 0 for 6, batting 8th, and she hit 500 the previous weekend, but she drew 3 walks and scored 2 runs, and I think she might have stolen a base. And so even though she didn't get a hit, her on base was 333. I know I beat this. I don't just beat this dead horse. I kicked the crap out of it. But what does Billy Bean say in Moneyball? He gets on base. What do I care if it's a walk or a hit? So she walked her way out to a 333 weekend. So and once Sam gets on the bases, it's trouble time. And then Laura Kamenson, 2 for 8 with an RBI and a run. I think she'd been doing a little better. Now, here's one thing. Roadie Ball, and it's just because we expect so much from her. Let's talk about Roadie for a minute. I usually don't like to beat Roadie's horse to death because hey, it's another big weekend for Roadie. But let's talk about it a little because she's hitting about, I think she's got her average up to 451 now, and then an even more ridiculous 560 something. I'll get the stats up here later so you can see for yourself, but an on base of over 560, 15 homers. She's leading the team in RBIs in the leadoff spot. And if you wonder why is somebody, if you didn't watch Moneyball or read the book or hear about it or anything, and you're wondering why is this someone with this much power not hitting cleanup, well, one of the things that Moneyball figured out was if it's your best hitter, you want them up to the plate as often as humanly possible. And if you bat them down 4 spots, that's going to cost you a lot of at-bats with your best hitter. And it used to be, hey, the little speedy guy, he gets on. The second guy moves him over, and 3 and 4 hit home runs, and 3 is your best hitter. It's no, your best hitter hits leadoff. Billy Andrews did it, I believe, for all 4 years. And she has the Husker home run record. So, college coaches, baseball and softball, Rhonda Revelle definitely has an eye out for Moneyball. My best hitter, I want her hitting as much as possible. Who cares if it costs her RBIs in the 4th spot? It's going to cost us a lot more hits and runs over the course of the season if we don't hit her in the leadoff spot. So she went 6 for 12 on the weekend, hit 500, 3 doubles and a homer. So 4 of those 6 hits were for extra bases. Knocked in 5 runs. The homer was the blow it open shot on Sunday, a grand slam. Yeah, blew it open from 8-1 to 12-1. There's your run rule. No, actually, hers blew it from about 6 to 10-1. And then Ava Cusack, who's coming up here quick, hit a 2-run homer. She hit 2 homers in that game against her former team, which had to be fun. But yeah, so Roadie knocked in 5, scored 4 for the weekend, hit 500, and then in the circle, I'm still going to be tempted to say on the hill or on the mound for as long as I do this. but in the circle. Yeah, it can be flat. They call it the mound, even if it's a little league flat mound. So I don't feel like I'm that far off base. But she really, I feel bad because here's Nate Rohr on radio, and he's talking about the no hitter going and all that, and you're not supposed to talk about the no hitter. Well, broadcasters can talk about it. That's not considered part. I was heckling him a little on Twitter, but I said, broadcasters have a dispensation from the no hitter thing. I guess technically, fans, anybody else, it doesn't matter. It's just you're not allowed to bring it up in the dugout. That's where you're truly going to put the hex on somebody or jinx it. Well, Jordy got 2 outs away from a full 7-inning no hitter, and they hit a bouncer to 2-hopper to third, and not hot at all. And Sammy's right there for it, and that second hop hits the bag, changes direction, bounces it over her left shoulder, and you can't give him an error on that. Bad hop hits or hits, and so bad hop hit. It's over. Jordy gave up one more hit. Nothing wrong with this 2-hit shutout, but yeah, she threw a 7-inning 2-hit shutout on Saturday, and and then like I said, and just crushed it all weekend. And we just hold. And what was funny, and this is one other thing I wanted to mention. She's on her tear right now. Here she is. Her on base is 556. Her slugging percentage is 951. That's a good OPS, by the way, which is your on base percentage plus your slugging percentage. Her OPS now is 1.507. That's ridiculous. Anything over 1 is good, and 1.507 is a really good. That's a good slow pitch number, let alone fast pitch. And so she came here for the pitching. And, everybody who didn't really understand it was like, and she's going to set all kinds of pitching records here in 2 years. Well, you're not, because Lori Sipple, no one's ever breaking Lori Sipple's records, and a few others from when the mound, I believe, was 3 feet closer, 3.5 feet closer. This was back in the 80s, the days of Debbie Doom in UCLA, where Debbie Doom had like a 0.17 ERA. 1 year, only gave up like 4 runs all season, or something ridiculous like that. Then they moved it back, and now it's like you can still have some ridiculous pitching numbers. I believe her ERA right now is in the 140s, but no one's going back to those days. I think Sipple had like a 0.581 season. Her career ERA, because she pitched in those days, is well under 1, and so no one's coming in and breaking pitching records at places that have pitchers like that, let's put it that way. But it's a much more exciting game now. A lot more runs, a lot more hitting. You can really appreciate the good pitching without having these just constant 1-0, 2-0 games. 7 of the 9 batters are trying to bunt their way on because they can't hit these people, and it's just so much more exciting, much more watchable program. Much more watchable sport. And it's just crazy how different it is from when I tried to watch some games in the 80s. But yeah, here's Jordy, and we just hold her to these wild standards where if she goes like 4 for 11 for the weekend and only knocks in a couple of runs, it's probably, she's slumping. Wow. So I just thought, what she's doing, she actually did, I'll look them all up at some point again. The last article, I did like a 3 or 4 part close to the season after the Tennessee series, and one of them was I just talked about all the records, because they set all kinds of hitting records. She set some individual single season hitting records, and we were bringing her here to pitch. She never even really hit that much. I think she barely hit it all her freshman year, maybe batted 30 or 40 times her sophomore year. And I guess if you're Oklahoma and you're loaded to the gills, you take what would be one of the best bats in your lineup and just let's save her for pitching. I'm really glad, and I bet in a way, I'm not saying she wouldn't be glad to come back to Nebraska and she's making things happen here, but holy cow, she's got to be going, even if the things that are happening now aren't happening, and I get it, everyone wants to win, but she would have had to enjoy just hitting full time for these last 2 seasons, even if we're not on the verge of some of the things we might be on the verge of doing as a softball team. I bat 4th and I play second base. I'm not part of the we. But anyway, I just thought we'd take a few minutes and really appreciate what she's doing, how it came out of nowhere. I'm sure Rhonda knew about it and had plans. I'm guessing she hit a lot, in middle school or whatever in 9th grade where Rhonda first got a commitment from her. But it feels like it's turning up a notch, and I'd say that reason is Alexis Jensen, just because she doesn't have to get to start 2 games every weekend anymore. She might. Right now she's kind of letting Lexis start. Like this time Lexis started to pair. I think she likes to get where she can maybe start Hannah Kamenzen or Kylie McGee on a Sunday, but the RPI talk, we can't afford a loss in one of these games. We really, really can't afford a loss. And so to keep that spot safe. Like losing a game to Minnesota this weekend would be devastating. And Washington gave an example last weekend because they found themselves in a 1-run ball game going into the last inning with these guys. And so I think a couple of weeks ago I called it, all right, time to keep the focus in the fire. And you really have to do. You have to keep playing with that fire. You have to stay focused, and you don't take anything for granted. The ball may not be crooked like football, but some days your bats just don't go, or oops, some pitches get away, or maybe they just get lucky. If any of you ever watched Diggstown with James Woods and Lou Gossett Jr., just a wonderful gambling boxing movie. And the deal is like they've got this bet with the richest guy in a town that his guy can knock out 10 of the rich townie guys boxers in 24 hours. And so, and this guy he's just kind of a knockout, and he's a specialist at the grift and, taking some shots and getting the betting in the crowd going. Well, there's a part where, he's just knocked out like his 3rd or 4th guy, and James Woods is he's the con artist and sets it all up, and he's also working his corner, and he's going like, yep, just keep doing what you're doing, man. This is going to be a cake. And he goes, yeah, that's going to happen. He goes, but don't. We could all end up, because if they lose, they're going to get killed because they don't have the money to pay back the money they borrowed to make all these bets. And he's like, yeah, well, guys can get lucky in here. Sometimes guys just get lucky. And James Woods is like, don't tell me that. And so that's, kind of the thing we got to worry about. People can get lucky. We're playing Iowa in 2 weeks. I don't know if you remember the Iowa series last year. Nebraska's taking care of business. They win the first 2 games, something like 28-26 to 4. They just go out there and run rule and twice, beat the piss out of them. And then Sunday, here they are up like I think 2-0, and they go into the 2nd inning, the 3rd inning, and all of a sudden Jordy hit, walk, and Jordy just has this weird like meltdown out of nowhere. She hits 3 batters in a row at one point, just like donk, just 3 donk. Iowa scores 5 runs. Nebraska never scores again after just scoring at will, and they lose a game to Iowa 5-2. And thank God Iowa won a few at the end to get their RPI into the 50s, so it didn't do any real damage as Nebraska was trying to hang on to a regional 2 seed. But yeah, people get lucky, and that was just one of the luckiest things I think that ever got dumped on Iowa in softball. And you're thinking about the curse there and everything, and the curses that happen in Nebraska sports. And guess what I found? I don't know how many of you follow pro wrestling, but they just got this wonderfully goofy guy that kind of looks like a cross between a mime and a vampire, and he talks like this, and his name is Danhausen, and he runs around cursing everybody. And so I just figure, I'm tired of us being cursed, so I'm just going to be breaking out this little guy before games and just me cursed. At one point, he was talking to some guy, one of the Mysterios, this tall, skinny one, who had belts on his shoulder, and he kept, hey, can I have one of these? Like, trying, wanting to look at his belts. And this guy's going, no. And he goes, and you keep grabbing my belts. Well, I'm just going to tell you, bad things are going to happen to you. And Danhausen goes, oh, really? Bad things are going to happen to me, huh? And then curse. So I think, well, what do we got to lose? You just go around, I'm going to start, see if we can get some of the Fanhausens cursing our opponents for a change. see if we can get some of those lousy calls the other way, or those weird fumbles, or the dropping it for no reason in football, and all that. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get to cursing people. Why wouldn't we? So anyway, where the hell was I? Oh, talking about playing Minnesota, just keeping it together. That's what we got to do. Just go in, but play fired up. I understand it's tough to get fired up for the games you're supposed to win, but that was one of those things that Tom Osborne, and he was a coach, they said emphasized is don't take anyone lightly. Don't be worrying about, even though you're playing, Houston Christian this weekend, just go beat Houston Christian, then we'll go worry about Michigan, that sort of thing. And I think Rhonda's good at that. She will tell you she doesn't look much beyond the next stuff. I mean, she'll game plan, weekend plan, and all that, but she's never looking beyond the current opponent. And I think once you get a game going, she's not looking more than a few at-bats ahead. She might be looking at, what am I going to do with pitchers down the road? But she is very big on, because I'll ask her, what do you worry about fear? Well, Andy, I know you get tired of me, but you're getting the same answer, and I just start laughing because I know what I'm about to hear, and that's just take care of the business in front of you, and that's what they got to do. They got Minnesota, Iowa, Penn State left, I believe. That's it. They've got a game with UNO in there that you don't want to take lightly because you're going to face Madia Groff, if I'm pronouncing her name. I thought it was Madia. Someone else said it might be Badia. I don't think it's that. I've just got to unlazy, go to their website and look it up, so I'm not. But excellent pitcher, no matter how you pronounce it, no matter whether or not I'm butchering it. And if you like butchery, I tweeted out a few things on the Sunday game because I wasn't hearing it because normally I've just got Nate on Huskers radio network in my ear. Nate Rohr at Roar the Crowd on Twitter. If you follow him, he's fantastic. But I'm like, you know what? Let's do an inning of what the hell? Let's do an inning of Big Ten Plus because so many times you get the boom goes the dynamite treatment. Real quick, Nebraska Strong GBR is in. Regular listener, good to have you back. Yeah, we just need to wait a minute. We just need to beanball Minnesota's first batter to get the fans fired up. Go Big Red. We're at Minnesota, man. Why do we want to get their fans fired up? I just want them laying around like the cheerleaders in those first couple games of the Water Boy. Yeah, just sprawled out, taking big pulls from the flasks and and the pints of Jack Daniels or sharing fireballs and just losing all hope immediately. No, we don't want to fire Minnesota's fans up. And if you ever watch them get beamed or hit in softball, they don't give a shit. They don't. I mean, they care. It hurts. But have you ever in a softball game? And believe me, they get hit a hell of a lot more than baseball players do because they don't have to. They're not required to move away. They can stand there and let it hit them. They just can't lean in, or any of that. And Hannah took one in the bean last week, and But baseball, you're just supposed to be pissed about it, especially college. There's one thing about the way the girls, those dugouts, are talking, yelling the whole time, just fired up. I mean, holy cow. You're going to come out of there with a strong voice and ability to speak publicly if you play college softball, because when they're batting, brother, they are talking, and they are talking loud. And I guess I bring that up because the Oregon series last weekend, that it feels like, and I just pull that as an example. They're not the only ones, but it feels like they're not like just talking. They're talking shit. It is trash talking. It is loud. And then, here's one thing they did do nobody did. And then what was funny was on Twitter, they got so offended that we brought it up. Well, we won the series. It's like, and you get a lot of these. Iowa's like the king of, when they beat you, they're just online. They're still mad because we're still kidding around, and they want you like kneeling before Zod, like in the Superman movies. Kneel before Zod. Admit we are greater than you. And that's kind of what Oregon was doing. Well, you lost. And it's like, well, we're not saying, here's what happened. Hard slide at second. I never got a good enough look at it. Oregon saying cleats up. The umpire was right there. Didn't really say anything, but he slid past the bag. He's breaking up the double play. And then the two of them got up, jawing a little. They said chest bumping. I don't even know that I saw a chest bump. It was just the two of them jacking their jaws a little. And then here came Oregon emptied the bench onto the field. Now, there's a rule, and some people are misquoting it a little. If you step over the foul line, it's an ejection. And that wasn't it, but it does specifically say, and it didn't leave any room for interpretation. But what happened was these guys just ran out, with where these two were, and it didn't last long. But they're out in the middle of the field, jawing away, and it should have been like 6 or 7 ejections, and instead nothing, no ejections. And then the umps, the Nebraska said the umps gave them the explanation. Since no one was instigating or escalating, we chose not to. It's like, well, what else are they running out on the field for, if not to instigate and escalate? No one empties their dugout onto the field except usually for a good old shoving match because somebody got beamed. And yeah, they ran out there. They did. No one from Nebraska suggested it cost us the series. And, oh no, we lost because of this and because of that. It was like, no, it was a great series. I think every game went down to the last pitch. I think 1 2-run game, a couple of 1-run games. Great series. Oregon took it 2 out of 3. But you had this. The Big Ten umpires did nothing. Apparently, the Big Ten's choosing to do nothing. Well, why have the rule then? And first of all, there wasn't room for you to interpret if they were escalating or not. It says come out, and it was something like get within a certain distance of the players or the incident, and boom, you're gone. And no ifs, ands, or buts. Those guys just get thrown out, and I don't, and did nothing, and I don't know. And Oregon got really butthurt. I'd be like, so you're saying this is okay, that you can just run out on the field anytime you get mad, as long as I guess you don't touch anybody. And I don't know what Oregon fan was funny because I was like, why are you guys defending this? It's weird, and it is spelled out. And he actually came back with a pretty good one. He's like, well, hey, make strolls around the diamond mid-game a thing, which was pretty funny. And I was like, yeah, and by doing this, if the ups, everybody decides that's a precedent, that, we can, they said as long as you don't instigate, so just for whatever reason, let's just go run into the outfield in the middle of an inning and just take some photos with our phones and come back in, somebody'd be like, well, let's delay a game. Well, so is this. Anyway, thought you guys would get a kick out of that. But I just noticed in women's softball, there is just constant noise, constant yelling, super celebrating. I don't believe you can really, taunt. I've seen it a little bit where, hey, somebody strikes out somebody, and they're not really, running at them screaming, but they're definitely screaming in their direction, and it's like, yeah, I figure even then, though, it's just, they don't, let's put it this way, I'm sure they get upset, they're human, but why is it that the women can control themselves and the men can't? Because, at times it just seems like, here's yet another incident of just, freaking road rage on the baseball field. It's just one game after another. Everybody hates Tennessee. Constantly managers screaming, and Will Bolt likes to go out and have himself an argument, God knows. But you don't really see that. You'll see the thing is, with the women, you will see the coaches there's some hot-headed coaches. Rutgers coach came out, I think, once every game, twice in one, to scream about something. If those of you that saw the Indiana coach last year with just her epic meltdown where she had to be restrained from going after the umpire. And then there's Rhonda, who I believe has been kicked out twice in her career that spans, 2,000 games, got to 1,800 games. And one of them was in that same game where the Indiana coach got bounced. And she went to the mound for a second time and then that's like an automatic. And so people almost didn't notice she was gone until they saw her walking down the right field line where you leave if you're kicked out or leave the game, and didn't realize what had happened. And then she'd already been to the mound, and it was after the Indiana coach got run. So I wonder if she just we had the game firmly in hand. I wonder if she just, hey, I'm going to get my cell phone and go talk to her a little. Not no, I mean in a good way, hey, so what was going on there? And anyway, a nice tangent. But that's one of the things I kind of wondered this week. You just don't see this and women's softball where the players ever lose their minds. The worst you'll see some good body language. I'll give them that, where, somebody doesn't like that call, they're definitely going to turn their back on the umpire for a few seconds and run that pitch clock down to 0, or take that little step out of the box, because the hitters are on a clock too. I think they've got 10 seconds to get in the box, and they'll use all that if they don't like a call. Maybe look back at the dugout a little and then maybe see if they can get their coach to go. But no, they tend to take things as they go, and I don't know. It's just one of the things. Hey guys, what's the difference between baseball and softball? There's one of them. It's just culturally different as far as the rage goes. So anyway, was it the beanball that got me going on that? That's fun. Okay, so anyway, we've gone up and down. We went up and down the cool hitters. Let's talk about our hot hitters. We talked about Jordy. Hannah Kamenson just kept going, and they're getting a little scared of her now. I mean, Jordy this year compared to last year is getting a lot more of the old intentional walks. I don't know that I've seen her intentionally walked, but maybe once. But she sure as hell come up, 7, 8, 9 times sound about right, where they're not giving her jack squat to hit. Not a thing. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Iowa's corn still sucks. Oh, God, yes. Yeah, remember that. At Iowa, they eat corn the long way. So, hey, Iowa's coming up. We'll have a little mini hate Iowa week, just because, you do. All right, it'll be. We'll make that since they're coming up next week. We'll have our official celebration of Iowa Can't Stay Out of Trouble Week. This now, within the last 10 years, they have what did they got? They've got a Title IX discrimination suit, a gender discrimination suit, and then a racial discrimination lawsuit. They settled all three. I want to the tune of about 13-14 million altogether. Admitting no wrong, because everybody knows you spend millions of dollars when you did nothing wrong. And now Kirk Ferentz. First, I thought that the only dope in the country, what's his name, Joe Golding, the new Ole Miss coach. Oh my God. Okay, I thought he was the biggest dope in the country because he was dumb enough to contact a player who wasn't in the portal and was still on another team. And not only that, it was one of Dabo Sweeney's port players. And if anyone hates paying players, like Dabo has no trouble making, $11 million a year, and I'm sure has his agent going to make as much money for him every chance he gets. But he's one of those that is just highly, highly offended if one of those people that the fans actually come watch to play. They don't come to watch Dabo stomp the sidelines. When one of them asks for money, it drives Dabo crazy. It drove Nick Saban crazy and his $12 million a year. It was unthinkable. But so Joe Golding then, and he hates the portal, and Joe Golding, apparently, they haven't proven it yet, so maybe it's not going to, maybe Dabo was just pissed and making it up, or the contact was permissible, who knows. But Joe Golding contacted the player directly. Now, schools have been screwing with each other's coaches for so long and tampering with each other's coaches, and it's very simple. Even if it is detectable, there's really nothing to prove there, and it's the way you tamper. Every coach has a best friend who has nothing to do with the school, and these coaches, best friends, it's just kind of out there that if you're interested in that coach, it's, these best friends, kind of make it known, and the coach will, I'm sure there's non-binding language. If the coach is asked, he goes, "Oh, very good friend of mine." And basically all the contacts happen between these guys. And I'm sure most everybody's doing it the same way with the players, because you can't catch it. Okay? A friend of this guy had a conversation with a friend of this guy. What are they going to do? Start following around everybody's friends? No. It's the way that when, a coach got fired, and, and every AD has a list of coaches too. And then how do you get the next one so quick? Because now you're going after a coach that's probably at some other school. That's how it's done. You just friends talk to friends, and that's how you get to the table, and then you make the request, to talk to that coach. Now, there's not really making that request to talk to that player But hey, guy enters the portal and he's at his new school. He's got his new school the next day. Talk to some of these players. It's, they talk about how it's a very rushed thing, but I don't think they've switched schools in 24 hours. Everybody does it. Well, guess what? Long-winded again. Kirk Ferentz, I guess, decided to make contact with players not in the portal and still on other teams directly. Him and an assistant coach. And I think they found, everybody's going, why would you ever confess to the NCAA? Because they know they're about to get caught, and you can get a lighter sentence if you jump in ahead of that and confess to them before they've told you you're being investigated, which is, I think, what Kirk did. So Kirk got it. I think they got there. It was for Cade McNamara, of all people. Now, some people make fun of that. Hey, it's like, this guy was awful. He's just a ball dispenser. That's in Michigan. They ran it like 70% of the time. He's a handoff machine. Folks, this is Iowa we're talking about. A guy that just spits footballs to running backs like a Pez dispenser. That is gold in Iowa. So don't make it like Iowa had no idea what they're doing. We got a guy. He's not really going to scramble. He's just going to throw the slants we tell him to throw to the tight ends, and he is just going to hand that and pitch that damn ball. So, yeah, cut him a little slack there. Anyhow, we'll celebrate that next week because, it's like it's pretty serious. They're having to basically, and I don't think did we play Cade, or I don't know, or maybe he was hurt already. And if we did beat him, but anyway, they've got to vacate all their wins with Cade McNamara and by their rules that if they can show that he was tampered with and then went to that school, then he's an illegal player, and I think they're on probation for a year. He's got to sit out. Kurt's got to sit out a game, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, we can have a lot of fun during Hate Iowa Week. That's the point I was trying to make. All right. A few more of these hitters here, and then we've got another comment up. Okay, so Hannah Camenzind only goes 3 for 7. That's what got me going. She walked 5 times, so she was 8 for 12 getting on base. 667 on base, unreal. Knocks in 2 runs, scores 4 runs, so she was on base a lot, and even stole a base. And she's 5 for 5 stealing this year. Ava Cusack, former transferred from Wisconsin after her sophomore year. She was 3 for 9, took a walk, so 4 for 10 on base. All 3 hits. Let's see. Or no, I'm sorry. No, 4 for. I was jumping down one. She was 4 for 11 and 5 for 12. I was looking at Alexis Jensen. So she had 4 hits, 2 homers, a double, 4 RBIs, 4 runs. Sorry about that. Ava, and then two homers in the final game against her old team. Alexis Jensen, she'd been slumping. She was on like a 3 for 17 or 2 for 17 in 2 games tear or something. She got it going again. She was 3 for 9 this weekend, 4 for 10 with the walk, all 3 hits for extra bases. That's who I was talking about. 2 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, scored a pair, and then Casey Hoffman just banged away 4 for 9, knocked in 3 runs. Good weekend for her. And then in the circle, Jordy pitched 8 innings total, the 7 innings shutout. She finished with an 0.88 ERA for the weekend, a 0.500 whip, which is me only allowing half a base runner per inning. Struck out 6, walked 9. They were giving up a lot of like ground balls, fly balls this weekend. Neither one of them put up like their wild strikeout numbers. Alexis got 2 wins. She threw 11 innings, only gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, so an ERA of 0.64 for her. She was the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. And if you look at the freshman season she's having, and this is her first Freshman of the Week, she's 16-2 now, for God's sake, I think, or is it 17? And this is her first Big Ten Freshman of the Week award. Do better, Big Ten. Come on. In 11 innings, she struck out 13, walked 4, and her whip was not much behind Jordy's, 0.636. And so, let's see, Nebraska Strong has a question for me. Andy, serious question. What do you think Jordy Fromm's chances are of winning the NCAA's Collegiate Softball Player of the Year? Now, there's a few of those. I think there's 3. Those are handed out by 3, maybe all 4 of the organizations that vote. Last year, she took home a Pitcher of the Year and a Player of the Year. and some of them just have a player of the year. Some go player of the year, pitcher of the year. And so for a two-way player, you're kind of, if it's the body of both together that make you the best, then it makes it a little tougher. I know she lost a player of the year, one of them, to an Arkansas hitter who really did. She had a little more power, but didn't really hit much better. And Jordy, had some of the best pitching stats in the nation. And so I was just like, what? How the hell? You got to give the two-way player love where it's due. It's not like they Shohei Ohtani, gets left out of stuff because he hits and pitches. I don't know. She is basically softball Shohei Ohtani. And if you didn't notice, Alexis Jensen coming in right behind her. We got two Ohtanis on our team now. It took her a little while to get going. I was like, well, geez, she was Gretna's, all-time batting average leader. Well, she's going now, and let's go ahead and throw the stats up real quick. I think her chances, if the season ended today, I think she'd absolutely be getting one of them just because of the schedule they played at the beginning, whereas they got to pad their stats a little, say, in that New Mexico tournament, which they thankfully dumped this year after just rolling all over all those teams last season. So I think she's got a very good chance. If it ended today, she'd be taking home some of that hardware. And I don't know that Najiri Kennedy is really putting up quite the pitching numbers she did last year. I don't know if they've caught up with her. I'd have to look. And head-to-head, she's not much of a match. Like, she had, I think, superior pitching numbers slightly over Jordy, but Jordy had her crushed on the hitting numbers, even though Najiri will, hit both ways. And Jordy's a much, much better hitter. But, geez, Najiri Kennedy, hey, that was one where they gave Texas Tech a lot of crap for, the number apparently was around $1 million a year, which was considered nuts for softball. And the coach defended her going, well, look, at the day after she transferred and, and that number kind of got out, we got 750,000 hits in one day on social media, which was more total social media hits our softball had gotten in every year combined since we became a team. He goes, so just right there, recognition alone, and what that was doing for merchant attendance, because I'm pretty sure we were starting to get our money back. It's like we're at least getting toward the split there. He's a fun guy if you ever have a chance to listen to Texas Tech. His name slips my mind right now, but you ever get a chance to listen to him be interviewed, he's a fun dude. So, but I do. Big Najiri Kennedy fan. I think Jordy would be right in line there. You'd have somebody. She'd be going against somebody like Megan Grant from UCLA, Carlin Pickens from Tennessee, but she should any one where it's a player of the year without separating like field player and pitchers, which is kind of what player of the year does. I can't see them giving it to anybody else right now. So yeah, good question. There we go. Suck it, Jay, suck it. Oh, wish I had the degeneration. That's pro wrestling night for me. The Degeneration X. Hey, take a suck of that. So, and of course, that's a good Go Big Red. All right, let's see if I can start winding it down here. There's not a lot to review about Minnesota. Their pitching is okay, and you can kind of see that in some of their scores. Like they only played 6 ranked teams. They lost 12-2 to Oklahoma, 6-0 to Grand Canyon, 11-2 to Arizona, and then were swept by Washington, 8-6, 7-2, 6-1. You notice they're not losing by a lot of these 17 to whatever scores. Their pitching's okay. Sydney Schwartz is a senior, and she's a local Minnesota girl. She's been, I think, one of their big innings eaters for all 4 years. I'd have to look. I know her name didn't come as like, oh, I never heard that for you. I recognized her name. She's 10-11, a 3.03 ERA, very respectable 1.254 ratio. She's thrown 115 of their innings, given up fewer hits than innings, and her strikeout to walk ratio is 109 to 43. The only other pitcher you'll likely see, and if you see either of the other two, then it's batting practice. They're awful. Is Macy Richardson, and I only bring her up is because she is a junior from Tecumseh, Nebraska, so she's a Nebraska girl. Little rough go. She's thrown 88 innings. She's by far their number 2 pitcher. She's 3-9, 4.77 ERA, 1.758 ratio, and her walks aren't that bad. Her strikeout to walks are 69 to 38. but she's given up 116 hits in 88 innings. A lot of people put some aluminum on the ball, or some carbon on the ball when she's on there. But local girl making good in Division I, so good for her. They've only got one hit. Their team only hits 254, and they don't have any power. They've only hit 25 homers, but they're slower than they are non-powerful. They've only stolen like 8 out of 12 bases. For comparison, we hit 326 to their 254, 68 homers to their 25, 27 stolen bases to their 8, and our on base is 408. There's a 331. So we've got a decent advantage in pitching, but we've got a massive advantage in hitting. This should be a sweep. Just can't put it any simpler than that. This is their 5th series. They've been a 2 out of 3 team. If we sweep them, we'll be the first. Now, they haven't played any of the powerhouses yet. They lost 2 out of 3 to Indiana and Ohio State, always solid programs. And then they won 2 out of 3 against Iowa and Illinois. And those teams aren't looking good this year. So that is about where we are. I'm trying to think. I thought I had one more thing to tell you. I wanted to show you a few pictures here. Let's see. Now, if you check it, we were going to do it game by game, but it's already kind of nuts trying to get the post-game recap out in a timely manner and get the hell out of Dodge after a game. So what I'm going to do is, whoever works the game, me or Mylie, will choose the MVP, and then I'm just going to list them in part of my. It's either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how busy I get. I should have it done tomorrow if I get my weekly email from Paige, who's just wonderful. She's the SID, the Sports Information Director for softball. So she gets me my pile of. I just call it my pile of stats and stories. Then I will have that out Wednesday for you, and I will have your 3 MVPs of the game. I decided to have like a Meta AI try and come up with a trophy for us, because we have no trophy or hardware in the budget. And here's what it came up with maybe 2 prods, and there's our trophy. There's your Corn Nation trophy, and I loved it. It's like 2 tries. There you go. The only change I'd make is make that if that's supposed to be a baseball, but if they think it's a softball, make it greenish yellow so it's a softball color. Other than that, it's good to go. I used this last week. There was some other good AI. I always want my AIs to be cartoons. But yeah, here's hey, there you go. The ladies and on their road trip up north. And then what else did I have for you? I did the Dan Houseman. Let's see. Here's a couple shots of Ava. I just threw these in here because she had the big weekend, and they're both in the pinstripes, or white with red and red with white. That's her big grin, I believe, after the 5th inning homer on Sunday that put it up to 12-1. There's Lexi. Lexi is just one of these people that oozes charisma and fire, and it is just an absolute goofball, and I mean that in the best way, just the best way possible. If you ever get a chance, check her out before her first pitch of an inning, and just her little warm up is just fantastic. And I won't say any more than that. I've got a video of it, but I want to give people a chance to see it first. And let's see. And I showed you. Yep. By the way, Minnesota, you are cursed. And I think, look, I said, here's the there's the standings. Like I said, Washington's still sitting up there, but they're not going to stay undefeated after the next 2 weekends. We should be in first. It shows us 1 game up on UCLA, but we're really 2 games up because we have the tiebreaker. Oregon, I guess we'd go to a comparative head-to-heads. I don't really see it coming down to a tiebreaker right now. If it does, I will look up the particulars. And there, look, there's Indiana sitting there in 5th. They're just good every year. Same with Northwestern. Ohio State the last few years has been solid. So maybe I'll take a look next week and just see where the rest of the conference is standing in RPI and what it's looking like. Michigan has moved up to like 31 or 32 in RPI. they show they're 6-9, but they've been through the ringer with opponents. I think they've played us, Washington, and maybe UCLA or Oregon, and now they're starting to win again, and they're coming back up and are in a good spot. Let's see. Quick look at the stats. I took you through everything last time. I won't this time, but up at the top, there's Jordy's numbers, and another thing with Jordy too, with that on base percentage, is look over there about little to the right of the middle of the column there, where the walks are, the BB. She's walked 22 times. She's been hit 8 times. So, and the thing is, it's not that they're bopping Jordy because they don't want her to hit or hitting her instead of walking her. She really gets the arms extended, and they don't want that, so they like to throw her inside and try to jam her a little so she can't get that bat out fully extended. She's not a big girl, but she has great torque and long arms, and they want to try and take that away from her. She's hitting .451. They're not doing a very good job of it, but and there's Alexis Jensen 2 spots below her in the team leaders in hitting, even after like a 2 for 17 run, and she's hitting .345. Was it 20 hits? 8 of them are for extra bases. She goes the other way like Hannah Camenzind does. Just a blast to watch her hit. Ava Cusac's warmed up again. She's brought her average a bunch to .317. She was slumping and being a little inconsistent early on, but it looks like she's starting to catch it again and at least start walking her way on when the bats cool off a little. That's probably I want to show you there. There's the pitching stats, and there's that team ERA, which dropped from like 221, I believe, from last week to 202 this week. This happens when you only allow 2 runs across 19 innings. It tends to come down a little. Yeah, there's Alexis. She's 17-2. Jordy's 11-4. And look at the innings pitched: 107 2/3 to 105 2/3. And just because Rhonda has been very quick to use Jordy as Alexis' security blanket. She has those school record 9 saves, which beat Rhonda's former record of 7 in one season. But other than that, we went to an hour. I got going on a couple of tangents. I apologize. I hope that you at least found them somewhat enjoyable for mocking Dabo or in Iowa. It should happen. A few comments up here. Let's take a look at these before we go. Andy, when Mylie, not Kylie, but Mylie played hockey, did you ever blow up at the Zebras for a bad call against your daughter? I blew up once, but I was in the stands for that one. I was just charting some numbers for that one, and yeah, it was a tournament up in Brookings, South Dakota, and this team was from Winnipeg, and they were just the dirtiest bunch of little shits, and they ended up winning a fairly close game, and the refs swallowed the whistles, and then for just like hits from behind, just like swinging the sticks, things like that. And so then Mylie, has a little bit of a temper. There was one girl who in particular who was doing a little bit more than the others. And so she was driving it down the board. She was driving the puck down the boards, beat one girl, and this girl's coming over to pick her up. And she just kind of dumped the puck around her and blasted her, just sent her flying. And they called the penalty on her. And that was maybe the third penalty of the game, 2 of them on us. And yeah, I might have thrown the clipboard, yelled fuck at the top of my lungs. But in a game, the only time I took 2 bench minors in my life. Both of them were in high school hockey, and both of them had a purpose behind them. And for one, I had a guy who was just always getting in fights, getting stupid roughing penalties, somebody will give him a shove after the play, and that you don't take the second shot because that's the one the refs see. He did it all the time. So I spent most of the season trying to get his temper under control, and I do it. And there they are in front of the ref, and there's a little shoving match, and he backs off, and they stare at each other, and the other kid punches him in the cage, and he backs off, and the ref calls nothing, and he looks at the ref, and he turns to me and goes, he's like, I didn't, nothing. I drew a penalty. Where's my penalty? and the game, it was later in the game. I'm not worried about hurting the team. It's been decided. And so I just chewed on the ref until he gave me a bench minor for not calling it. And I got the bench minor, no big deal. And the head coach comes over to me and goes, "What was that for?" And I told him, and he goes, "Oh, okay, makes sense." And so I just want to know, this one's for you. That deserves you. It might not have been that big a deal, but in a lot of situations, in this situation, it was a big deal. You deserve to have somebody stand up, give the ref an earful, just to send you a message that we're proud of you doing the right thing. So that's one good example there. So there you go. Let's see. Oh no worries. And then when Mylie, did I ever? Yeah. No, you didn't have to rewrite the whole thing. But yeah, but that time, like I say, I didn't get a penalty for it. But if I was on the bench and did that, I might have gotten the bench minor tossed out of the game and told by our particular coach, "You're not coming on the bench with me ever again if you're doing that shit." Oh, I made it worse too. I went down after the game to wait for the team, and I am still fuming just at what went down in that whole game. And I am outside our locker room, and I was like, "Crap!" And I gave the door a punch, and I'll say, "Hey, you cut that out!" And here comes like Brookings, king of the hallway, I guess. There's no one else in the hallway. It's a metal door. I'm not. It's like, it's me. It's skinny me. I'm not about to put a hole, a sizable dent, let alone a hole in that door. But he came and he started reading me the riot act, and so I just went and I was like, "Buddy, I don't know what they're paying you to come up and give me a lesson, but nobody's around. It doesn't matter." And he was coming up like nose to nose. And I'm like, "So if you stand here nose to nose for another second, I'm just going to drop you." And I'm not a guy that goes around threatening to drop people. I'm sure that's like the only time I've maybe done that in the last 25 years. And he got and walked away and then ratted me out to it was actually Brookings' coach's wife who kind of ran tournaments. I think her name is Darcy. Lovely, sweet woman. So she catches me later. "What the hell went on there?" And I told her exactly what went on. She's like, "Oh, he shouldn't be getting in your face." And I'm like, kind of my point. I said, "I'm sorry I hit your door, but she's like, "Have you seen those doors? Everybody's punched those doors." So she made me feel better. I didn't want to get in trouble up there, but yeah, shit happens. And yeah, that awesome story. I don't know. I've got a lot more fun ones that don't, involve me losing my mind. But yeah, it happened. And we're well over an hour now. So hey, glad we went over time with Mylie, or I'd be getting the stink eye. So good. They had a good time at the game. 154. If I didn't say it at the beginning, I'm hopping in the old hockey or the old softball and football reporting cruiser, which I like to take in the occasional games. I took in the Minnesota football game on the road for football this last season. Yeah, fun story there. I got up there, they didn't have my credentials, so I fortunately had the email that said I'd been granted them. And then so I got one of those, "Oh, okay." She literally had to call up to somebody. Like, it wasn't good enough that I had the damn thing on my phone. Had to call up, find the AD or somebody, and get permission to give me a handwritten credential. And then told me, and this was my favorite part, told me, "Yeah, and there's no room in press seating though, since we didn't have you. Just got to warn you." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" It's like Nebraska, even for big games, only never, I think, comes close to seating everybody. They just want to be. They've got a press box that's ready for the big event. Everybody does at Division I schools. Yeah, I go up there. That place wasn't even maybe half full. It wasn't even filled with names. So first of all, if I'm getting a little pissed right now, that was an out and out lie. I don't even know why. Why are you lying? You're the ones who screwed up my press, press credential and didn't have it ready. So I'm standing there as everybody's getting flying by me. And were you somehow mad at me that I just didn't go home and I asked for one? It's like, why would you lie and say, "Oh no, there's not enough seating"? It's like literally only 2/3 of the seats on their chart are taken. So yeah, there's no problem sitting down. But yeah, went to Minnesota. I'm going back. I'm definitely emailing the guy tomorrow to, "Hey, just double checking we're good to go and where I should pick it up." And and all that good stuff, because now they've got me nervous. But yeah, going up there, staying with my son Drew. If you watch the Husker Happy Hour in the fall, you may have seen Drew last fall on this night at this time, and him and his ill-tempered kitty. She'll be there to hide in the closet for a while, then come out and be fascinated by me. I did get one head scratch in the football visit before she, jumped back, took a swing, took a little swing, not full on fappity faps, but just one like jerk back swat and then run away. And yeah, she's not like an attack cat. I don't have to fear her. But no, we should have a pretty good few days. John Johnston, our fearless leader, lives up there. We're going to catch dinner with him on Thursday night, me and my son, and I guess that's about it for this evening. What do we have here? Did Drew play sports? Drew did. Drew played hockey from like age 6 or 7 all the way through high school. He played in the high school league here. And yeah, he did not play anything in college, but yeah, ran track, played hockey, and good time. A lot of good times at track, a lot of good times at hockey, a lot of good times with the kids. Yeah, if you ever have kids, go to all their games. Take off work, use the vacation time. You'll be glad you did later. And with that, go Big Red. Let's take Minnesota out. Just take care of business. I hope the food goods Thursday, and just gear up for a little Hate Iowa week. And other than that, I guess we are done here. As always, I thank every one of you for watching. Listen, if you're listening. Yeah, I want to say something. Gravy with John. I don't know, John's in good shape. Gotta have a fun trip. Thank you very much. I hope I do. I got a ticket last time. I'd like to leave that. That was my first ticket in about, I had one in a state park, about 7, 8 years ago, and before that, I think it was about another 15 years before that. So no, I don't rack up tickets. So hopefully that one's got me covered for a good stretch again. But nope. Go Big Red. Hate Iowa. Just cause. Way to go, Kirk. And other than that, I guess we will see y'all next week. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Oh, I remember. Last week, if you had any trouble, I got a notice during the show, right as the show started, that it was having trouble on YouTube, and I saw that YouTube had a really tiny number of people watching compared to usual. Not that we're a massive, and 38,000 this week. But if you ever have trouble getting onto YouTube, go to Corn Nation page on Facebook or Corn Nation's Twitter, and it's also being streamed there as well if you're a YouTube live person. So just wanted to say that. Same thing a few weeks before that, there was a Twitter problem. We're streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, just so you know. All right, there, I'm done. Enjoy the rest of your night. Sorry I took that, I believe, about 20 minutes longer than I like. So, go Big Red. Love you guys. See you next week. Thank you.